What's up, San Antonio? What's going on, South Texas? This is the Area 210 podcast, brought to you by MCS General Contracting, brought to you by Locked On Spurs. My name's Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. I am bundled up at home. Joe, let me know if I'm overmodulated at any point.
You kind of overmodulated a little
A
bit.
little bit. I kind of felt that way, dude. I kind of felt it. Let me move that down. How's it sound now?
Sound a little too low. I'm going to see if I can bring you up here. Hold on.
All
I'll
right.
work on
Okay,
it.
I
There
moved
we go.
myself up again. How's this?
That's good. That's good right there. We'll go
All
with
right,
this.
I'll move this off a little bit to the side. My name's Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. We are in mourning today, okay? It is a cold, dreary day here in San Antonio. There's a reason why I'm not in studio. No, I'm not at my girlfriend's house right now. I am in West Bexar County at my home because it's just too cold, man. And the freezing rain's supposed to come in between 11 a.m. and noon. I didn't want to get stuck in that. So, Joe, I decided to do this at home. In fact, we were also in talks of not having a show today because of our work schedules. But the stars aligned at the last minute. We are back, baby. And we are having a show today where we're just going to break down a lot of last night's game between the Spurs and the Bucks. Joe, the Spurs got embarrassed.
Look at this. JHNSB says it best. Our viewers have given this type of effort from the Spurs a name. And look at what JHNSB says. Wimpy shrivels into Wimpy Ganas once again. Never fails.
You know, last night's game was tragic. Okay, last night's game, that's the only way I can describe it. It was a tragic game. I was excited because, the Spurs were going into this game at 518-18, 9-6 without Sohan, 9-12 with him, 9-6 without him. And I kind of jokingly said, hey, man, Spurs are going to win, right? Because they do better without Sohan out there. But this team came out flat, man. There was not one player on this team that came out guns a-blazing. It was on national television. It was on ESPN after that very dramatic Cavs OKC Thunder game. The two best teams playing, and then the rest of the national audience was treated to the Spurs just wetting the bed last night. Not one Spur player did good last night. The Spurs really should have been blown up by 25 or 30. But it got me thinking, Joe. Okay, because a lot of the Sohan stands, Joe, last night were coming at me, going, you see, we could have used Sohan. No, dude, stop. Sohan was not going to affect that game. You needed scoring. They didn't have scoring. Giannis went off. Dude, if Wemby can't guard Giannis, Sohan can't. Okay, can we just all come to that conclusion? He's a former MVP for a reason. Dame was doing Dame stuff.
Yesterday, what did it show you? When they go ahead and really push Wemby and they really play defense and they get physical with him, what happens? He folds like a cheap $5 chair, dude.
Dude, he just doesn't have any help, man. That's what I saw. I saw two superstars going after one superstar yesterday.
One of them's just not better than the other. You saw that right away.
Well, I mean, come on. Giannis at this point in his career is better than Wemby at this point in his career.
Yes.
Okay, and that's not a diss on Wemby. Wemby right now is a top 10 player in the NBA. Giannis is top 5, right? And then you have Dame out there who's probably top 20. And the Spurs go out there, lose to the Bucks 121-105. It didn't even seem that close, man. The Spurs couldn't shoot for crap last night. Spurs yesterday shot 36.8% from the field. 34% from three, which isn't bad. 34.6 from three isn't bad, but a lot of those makes were done in the fourth quarter when it was already over with, dude. It was already said and done at that point. Okay, so let's see some of the. I just opened up the chat right now. We have Chris Gonzalez, Sam Salinas, Matt Lerma, Tony Ornalis in here, Jesse A, JHNSB. Good morning, fellas. Roy, thank you for being with us. Chris Gonzalez. People coming out and saying that the Spurs could have used Sohan. Maybe on the defensive side, but what would Sohan have done offensively? Nothing. Just is what it is, man. Well, let's get serious about this. Yesterday proved, and then the loss against the Nuggets over the weekend also proved the fact, and then the Spurs losing the Bulls proved that the Spurs need a number 2. And we don't got one. And I tweeted this morning, for all the people who say we shouldn't go after a Trae Young, all those people who say that we shouldn't go after a Lauri Markkanen, or we shouldn't go after a Darius Garland, Or what's the new name? Jimmy Butler. What's the new name? De'Aaron Fox. You're kidding yourselves. This team is a 500 team because guess what? We're better than half the teams in the NBA. We're worse than half the teams in the NBA. We're going to get some wins that come out of nowhere. We're going to get some losses that come out of nowhere. This is an average team. And one thing that you always hear about sports is that you kind of want to be a bad team or a good team. Being in the middle is kind of the no man's land, because you're not in the playoffs and you're not getting a good draft pick. You're kind of just a no man's land.
Purgatory. That's what it is. It's purgatory. And the Spurs fans have been in purgatory for the last couple of seasons because the needle hasn't moved. And it's happening again.
JHNSB comes out and says, Mike, let's be honest. It's time to sell your Castle jersey. Never. He's my son. Last night, Castle with just 5 points on 2 of 12 shooting. Look at these numbers, Joe. Stephon Castle, 2 of 12. Devon Vassell, 4 of 17. Devon Vassell was missing these shots. It wasn't these shots that were halfway in that just bounced out. He was missing shots, not even chipping the paint off the rim, barely even hitting the rim. He had a couple of air balls, if I'm not mistaken. Speaking of air balls, Trey Jones had an air ball that was ugly late in the third quarter yesterday. So you had Castle 2 for 12, Devon Vassell 4 of 17. Wemby only had 10 shots in 33 minutes. When was the last time you saw that, Joe? 10 shot attempts in 33 minutes. You know why? Because they were bodying him up.
Yep.
We had a Mamba sighting yesterday.
Yeah. Didn't make much.
Penny, 3 of 11. Now, he did make 3 3-pointers, but he was 3 of 11. All in all, just an ugly game. Meantime, you have Giannis go off for 25 points. You have Dame Lillard go off for 26 and Brook Lopez for 22. 2 superstars are greater than 1. So Matt Lambert comes out and says, in the context of this show, you clearly set up last night as a W because no Sohan. Wemby says he missed Sohan. Now you want to get serious. Okay, let's talk about that. Were the Spurs 14-0 without Sohan? No, they were 9-5. They were not batting 1,000 without Sohan. No one does. No one goes 82-0. So if you want to get serious, understand that you don't win all your games, you don't lose all your games. Okay? Sohan, Ohtani goes out there and gets out 65% of the time, but still bats 350. Okay, you go with the numbers, man. If you want to go with the numbers, please explain the fact how Jeremy Sohan on this team, Spurs are 9-12. Explain that, and explain how 9-12 is somehow better than 9-7. I'll wait. So the fact of the matter is that Sohan is one of the better talented players. He's probably the 4th or 5th best talented player on this team. So did they miss him? Sure, why not? But you can't tell me that his defense was going to be what separates 16 points on this game. Sohan's not worth 16 points.
Was it going to be better than Giannis's defense last night on Wemby? No.
What would it have changed? What would it have changed?
Yeah, Sohan's all right. That's all he is, Mike. He's all right.
Spurs shot 34%. So what we're going to do is we're going to go send a 28% three-point shooter out there. That makes perfect amount of sense. But it's frustrating, Joe, because now we're in purgatory, right?
Yeah.
And I guess purgatory is better than 22-60, right? So, I guess it is what it is. But it gets me antsy as a Spurs fan because I'm looking at Wemby going, my God, how long are we going to have this guy? I know the Spurs are the only team that can offer him the Supermax after 2 more seasons.
This is what Spurs purgatory looks like right now to Spurs
fans. I love it. This is fine. I'm all good. This is fine.
Yeah. I'm still here, Sohan. Come on, man.
Sith comes out and says, Sohan hits a layup. Spurs are only down 14. So Dark Aeon's asking the question, what do Giannis's numbers in his second year compare to Wemby? Well, Giannis didn't have as big of a rookie season. But then again, Giannis was the number 15 pick in the draft. Giannis was not considered to be a generational player entering the league. So to compare the two is apples and oranges, man. If Giannis was, he had to compare that to compared to Zion Williamson, who was the number one pick in the draft a few years ago, several years ago. Compare ones to ones. Comparing 1 to 15 doesn't make any sense to me. But if you want to go down that rabbit hole, Giannis stats over his career as a rookie back in, God, he's been in the league for 12 years, Joe.
He's been in the lead a long time already.
Giannis averaged 7 points per game his rookie season. Again, he was drafted number 15 overall in the draft back in 2013. Then he went to 13, then he went to 17, and then he became the all-star and all-time great thereafter.
This is what the Spurs season has looked like so far. I summed this up in this GIF here. Swing and a miss. Oh, messed up your ankle as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way the season's gone. Spurs fans, again, had delusions of grandeur in the beginning of the season. Oh, we hooping. Oh, we're going to go to the play-in. We're going to make the playoffs. We're going to be a 40-plus win team. No, man, that ain't going to happen. We said that before the season started, and fans over here telling us we're crazy and we don't know ball. We don't know what we're talking about. You're almost at the halfway mark of the season. And how many wins do you all have? Does the team have? 19.
Yeah, close to 500. Close to 500. I mean, Sam Salinas asking the question or making the comment on our YouTube stream right now, saying that there was some stat comparison between Wemby and Robinson years 1 and 2. They're pretty similar, not because of one game, but I'm agreeing with JHNSB that Wemby is mentally weak. I don't want to say that Wemby is mentally weak. I think that Wemby is being a good player, a good teammate right now. You can see Wemby becoming more of the alpha on the court. Right? We talk about and we joke about the fact that Devon Vassell will sometimes try to take that away and want to play hero ball. There's no way in the world, there's no game in the world, Joe, that when you look at the box score, you see that Devon Vassell shoots 17 times compared to Wemby's 10. That should never happen. And why is that being allowed? Why is it being allowed that Wemby goes off and has 10 shots in 33 minutes, but Vassell has 17 and 22? How is it that these players had more shot attempts than Wemby yesterday? Devon Vassell with 17, Stephon Castle with 12, Julian Champagnie with 11, Keldon Johnson with 15. You should not have 4 players, including 2 that came off the bench, having more shot attempts than Wemby. Wemby's 7'4". He towers over everybody else. He can get his shot. So what the hell happened yesterday?
They don't give Wemby the ball. They couldn't get Wemby the ball because he was being guarded by Giannis, so they had to have somebody else step up. Devon Vassell, what happened? Went in hiding. The only people that stepped up yesterday were your veteran players. Harrison Barnes, the Toyota Corolla of the team. Chris Paul. Keldon Johnson led all scorers last night. And he's coming off the second unit. And what does that tell you, man? This team still doesn't know how to play basketball, fundamental basketball. Right. If Giannis is guarding Wemby and he's really bodying him up, why isn't nobody coming out and setting a pick, setting a screen, getting the brother free? Simple fundamental basketball. Spurs just can't seem to grasp that concept. You got to go ahead and look at the coaching staff at some point and point the finger at Mitch Johnson on the rest of the coaching staff. They're putting up horrible lineups. They're trying to go ahead and say, oh, this is a team that's going to get us the wins. And it shows that it's shown that has not happened. When you did have a good lineup that was getting it done, you go and just break it. I still don't get that.
Devon Vassell was better off the bench.
He was. And so was Sohan.
Champagnie was better starting. I mean, and that's the thing. But at the end of the day, Joe, what does it all boil down to?
Just
lack of talent.
Yeah, just a bunch of guys, man.
We have Wemby, a blossoming Castle,
bunch of dudes,
and a bunch of dudes. And Castle's going to take a while to marinate, man.
You know what? Spurs fans need to get to the realization of this. De'Aaron Fox, he's an upgrade over Vassell. Vassell's just all right. That's it. He's just this. You've seen his ceiling right now. This is as good as he's going to get. And it's not that great.
If you ask people about De'Aaron Fox and they ask him, what does he rank among all NBA players? Some will say top 50. I think it's higher than that. I think that there's small market bias when it comes to players like De'Aaron Fox. We see that with the Spurs. We see that with the Nuggets. The smaller market teams don't get the run, right? It's just one of those things where De'Aaron Fox was averaging 26 and a half points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds in New York or Chicago. Even if they were a 500 team, he'd be a star. But he's doing it in Sacramento. No one cares about Sacramento.
Yeah.
No one can even place Sacramento on a map.
Look at Big Sean PD, yogurt IQ team.
Tell you, man. It's not no lies detected, man.
This team has a low beat basketball IQ. A lot of the players out there just stand around, man. Like, come on, dude. Back in the day when the Spurs were doing something, what did they do, Mike? They came out, said pick and rolls, picks, screens,
Beautiful game.
without the ball, passing the ball. They knew what to do because a lot of the guys on the team had a high basketball IQ. Big Sean PD hit the nail right on the head there. I mean,
I don't know if it's basketball IQ. I think it's the fact that they could get their shot, that they could create a play, they can create and get their own bucket.
standing around the 3-point line doesn't help your cause.
Exactly. As much as I've appreciated Julian Champagny, and he's gone from cardio to, hey man, he's actually a pretty good shooter. He can't create a shot. You look at Sohan, can't create a shot. He's putbacks and he's all about putbacks, right? Putbacks and dunks. Devon Vassell can't create a shot anymore. He can get his shot, but he can't create a shot anymore. Keldon Johnson tries to.
Points.
Keldon Johnson tries to, and maybe that's the reason why we're so enamored by Stephon Castle. Stephon Castle's the only guy that can actually create a bucket, drive in, make something out of nothing. Really, it's just Wemby and Castle that are the only two, and Chris Paul. Harrison Barnes, okay. So we got 4 players who can create a bucket. That's why you're not seeing ball movement. That's why you're not seeing backdoor picks or anything like that, is because Sohan can't do it. Champagny can't do it. Vassell, for some reason, can't do it anymore. Keldon can't do it. We all know Mamu can't do it. We all know that Zach Collins can't. Trey Jones definitely can't either. We just have 4 good players, 4 decent players, and then we have a superstar, 3 good players, an enigma, and just a bunch of dudes thereafter.
Yeah, you know what else? Devon Vassell is overdue for a extended injury hiatus.
Right.
It happens every time. I think it's going to happen before they go on the rodeo road trip or during the rodeo road trip. He's going to miss 8 or 10 games again like he does every single season, man. It happens. Look, we got an incoming super chat.
We have 2 super chats.
Yeah.
Both from the Drew Show, looks like. Says, my trade doesn't look crazy now, does it, Mr. Michael Jimenez? We need Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler needs us. He just doesn't know it yet. Grito. Dude, he paid a $25 super chat the other day. Yeah. The man asked for a grito. He gets a grito.
So we're going to go ahead and play the grito.
Presumir a mis amigos les conté que en el amor.
That is not a happy grito. That is a sad grito. I'm so depressed from last night's game. Drew Shaw also has another $5 super chat saying, there you go again with your B Fox. Buddy, they put the ball in Fox's hands. They'll never get to Wemby. That boy don't pass. Chancla. He's now asking for the chancla, Joe.
He wants to get you.
Okay, so the whole thing about Jimmy Butler, it's fun, right? I would love buckets in a Spurs jersey, even if it's for 3 or 4 months, right? But it's not a long-term solution, man. This is kind of like saying you're horny, but instead of going after a girl that you know you can have a long relationship with, you just want the she's the chick at the bar that used to be hot, right? But it's still kind of hot, right? And you know that it's not going to be a forever thing. It's just kind of just for tonight. That's Jimmy Butler, right? But you look over at De'Aaron Fox. That's the kind of girl that is hot, smoking hot. No one realizes how hot she is, but at the same time, kind of toxic, right? But the hotness keeps up with the toxicity. So you figure, you know what, it's worth it. That's what I look at when it comes to them all. Would I like to see Jimmy Butler in a Spurs jersey? If you think that De'Aaron Fox would not pass the ball to Wemby, wait till you see Jimmy Butler play with Wemby. Jimmy Butler would never pass the ball. He'd be like, "Great, we got a rebounder. I got a 7'4" rebounder." That's the way he would look at Wemby.
Look at that, Matt Lerma. They call Giannis a Greek freak for a reason. He just went through those screens like nothing. Yeah, because there was nothing being done. You know, if you're going to come up against him, you have to have two dudes setting a screen, setting a pick, trying to get your star player free. And the other thing
Who should have guarded this guy?
Man.
Who should have guarded Giannis? We don't have anybody to guard Giannis. The same way we don't have anybody to guard LeBron. Why do the Spurs lose to the Lakers all the time? We have nobody to guard LeBron James and nobody to guard Anthony
A
Davis.
bad matchup with the Lakers, dude. Every time the Spurs play him.
And it's a bad matchup when it comes to the Spurs with a team like Milwaukee. If I'm not mistaken, Milwaukee has kicked our ass several times in a row. I might be wrong. It just feels that way.
Yeah. Look at Blake Wesley has a.
Oh, dude! When you're asking for Blake Wesley to play over Devon Vassell, hit the bottom of the barrel. And I think that again, it's about expectations. It's about how getting up and getting excited. You know, Spurs ended the calendar year with a winning record. We never saw that coming. And now the Spurs are kind of coming down to earth. You know why we're coming down to earth? Because we're playing road games. The Spurs right now are showing that they're a different team at home than they are on the road. Most teams have a better home record than road record. That's fine. But when it's a night and day difference, man, there's something there.
Look at Midtown Texas, Wemby and the Mids. If the Spurs were a band, that would be their name, Wemby.
Okay. Well, let's ask this question. Let's ask this question. We saw a game last night between Cleveland and OKC, the two best teams in the NBA, both of them with like 850 winning percentages. I asked myself the question, how many Spurs would get playing time on either of those teams? And how much playing time? So let's say that the Spurs have OKC Thunder, right?
Yeah.
And we were to merge teams together, right? Wemby would obviously be getting starter minutes and would obviously be a superstar, right? Because that's what he is, a superstar wherever he goes. Barnes would not be a starter, but would get quality minutes. Same would go with Chris Paul. Everybody else on the Spurs roster would never sniff the court. Maybe Champagne a little bit.
You know what? Jeff Garcia had put out an article the other day, and it was ranking other executives or other teams were ranking executives within the NBA. And the Spurs were ranked there at the bottom, dude. 40th, you know, by other executives here in the NBA. And it's just showing that this roster, they're just not doing a very good job right now.
Everyone sees it. Everyone sees it. Everyone sees it. Joe, it's funny because I was on Twitter earlier today, and someone referenced me. I think it was Tavarius, who reached out to me and said, "Hey, look at this. It's the number of teams in the last like 10 years that have won 5 games in a row, and every team has done it in the NBA except for one, which is the Spurs." Someone responded to that by saying, "Yeah, well, how many championships have they won since 2000?" And I was like, "Oh my God, are Spurs fans turning into Cowboy fan?"
Yeah, that's what it seems like. We got another incoming super chat from the Drew Show here.
He's called me a fool. Jimenez, you fool. Just read Jimmy's stats and he averages 6 assists. Gabe, you don't know all. Okay, Jimmy Butler might average 6 assists per game, but when it comes to crunch time, he ain't passing the ball.
Well, he wants to give you the chunkla, so we're going to give you the chunkla.
Alejandro Morales reaches out to us and says, Spurs fans have that one vision that a bunch of hot chicks, but there are tortas there. What's that movie? Are we Shallow Hal? I mean, it's not the movie he's talking about. Remember Shallow Hal?
I remember that.
With Jack Black, where he's with this massive woman, but in his eyes, because of whatever he went through,
yeah,
he's being beautiful. been 10 years, Joe. So there was if you remember Bill Simmons from The Ringer, formerly of ESPN, the guy behind 30 for 30. He had a rule that said that you can't bitch about your team until it's been 10 years. That you can complain, you can question, but you really can't go full on bitch unless it's been 10 years since the last championship.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's been 11. We have the right to bitch.
Yeah.
A lot of Spurs fans feel like, because it just feels like the Tim Tony Manu, winning championships, popcorn. It feels like that was just yesterday because it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
It was 11 years ago.
Oh,
That was
sorry.
11 years ago. These players have since retired, have been enshrined in the Hall of Fame, and we feel as
Spencer.
we're gonna become Cowboy fans. We're gonna be sitting here 20 years from now going, man, remember back in 03? Remember that 05 series? Big Shot Rob? Remember that? We're gonna be doing that, Joe, because this front office hasn't done much of anything, man. Hasn't done much of anything. Or what are we gonna do? What's the big free agent signing we've had recently? Zach
Yeah.
Collins to a 2-year, $36 million deal. Is that what we're doing? Trey Jones, 2 years, 20. What are the Spurs? The Spurs already have 12 roster spots filled for next year, Joe. 12.
Yeah, man.
Hooper Flash has great spaces last night. And thank you for Matt Larimer for hosting the Spurs Twitter Spaces after the game. It was the first time in a while that I hadn't listened to the Twitter Space because I was just so pissed last night. I was
Yeah.
just watching this game. You know what I was doing while doing it, Joe? While watching the game, I was putting together Legos.
You know what I was doing? I was at work again. I had to, and that's the thing. We almost didn't have a show today. So I work and I get out at like 9 o'clock, right? And then I got the word yesterday that I had to work after work. So I had to go to one of our federal locations here, one of our federal buildings.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get together some mobile offices that needed to be deployed today. So I was working till like 1, 2 in the morning at one of the federal buildings, getting those vehicles ready for deployment. So I was like, I didn't know if I was going to be able to have the show today, but I was like, I got in around 1:30, a little bit before 2. I'm good,
Dude, those late night shifts suck sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Sam Salinas reaches out to us on our YouTube stream, says, so if the Spurs fans have the right to bitch about the Spurs because it's been 11 years, do we Cowboy fans have the right to riot over 29 years? Tony Ornales coming in with a super chat, $4.99. Thank you for being a big supporter of the show. Saying, let's stop future Sohan talks and bring some heat on Brian Wright and his GM performance. Let me tell you what I think about Brian Wright, and this is kind of the analogy that I just thought of off the top of my head right now. As Tavares asked the question, does Brian Wright even speak to the media? He does, but no one knows who he is. Brian Wright has the ability, think about this. We have one professional sports franchise in San Antonio, and Brian Wright could go to HEB on Bandera and 1604, fill up his cart, pay, and walk back to his car, and no one know who he is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But to answer the question about Tony Ornales talk about Brian Wright and his GM performance. Do you know what it reminds me of? And this is kind of me as the poker player, right? In poker, sometimes you do the right moves and you still lose. So I'll give you an example. I played a World Series of Poker event many years ago. 80% of the field had gone down. I was in the running to make the money, right? It's $1,000 buy-in.
Yeah.
It was one of my bucket list items. I had ace queen. The other person had pocket tens. The flop came out ace queen, whatever. I went all in. I had 2 pair, and the guy called with tens. He ended up beating me because he got trips on the turn. I did the right move, right? But I still lost.
Yeah.
I did the right move, but I still lost. And that's how I feel about Brian Wright. I went to Rounders Card Club recently. It's not called the Lodge. I played well, but I lost money because just because you do the right moves doesn't mean that it's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
Let me point out some examples here. When the Spurs traded DeJounte Murray, the Spurs got 2 unprotected first-round draft picks from Atlanta. They also got a couple of swaps, and they also got Charlotte's first-round draft pick. So people were all excited, and I remember on being on the radio at San Antonio Sports Star when people were like, "We got 3 first-rounders." I was like, "No, we got 2. That third one may or may not happen because it's so heavily protected." That Charlotte pick, Joe, that we got for DeJounte Murray, is it going to happen?
Nah.
No. No. You go on to, okay, well, we got those picks from Atlanta. Atlanta's going to somehow suck, and therefore we're going to have a top 5, top 8 pick in a really loaded draft. Atlanta is now a game over 500.
We got a new viewer in the chat here. It says Yannick Moulait. He says, hello from France. He says, I hope 2 victories in Paris. He goes, this is 2 games at home for the San Antonio Spurs.
I can't wait, man. Those games are going to be in a couple of weeks there in Paris. That's going to be fun to watch. Back-to-back games against the Indiana Pacers. I think the Spurs should win both of those. We should, right? It's a homecoming for them. But going back to Brian Wright, do we get mad at Brian Wright because of how things transpire? Do we get mad at Brian Wright because we think he did the wrong thing? Because trading DeJounte for those picks was not a wrong thing. We got a pretty decent haul. Okay, we
wanted to be gone anyway,
right. We got a pretty decent haul, but it hasn't transpired the way the Spurs fans had envisioned. And I'm sure Brian Wright envisioned it that way too. I'm sure Brian Wright was like, "Can you imagine if we get a top 5 pick from Atlanta in a loaded draft? Can you imagine if we get this pick swap? And can you imagine 2027?" And it hasn't materialized that way. The Charlotte pick fizzled. Oh, we're going to get that Chicago pick. Well, it didn't convey because it was top 10 protected. Brian Wright has probably done all the right things. The problem is that they haven't materialized the way that we had envisioned or hoped.
Yeah. Well, Spurs fans want them to win.
Do we go after and attack Brian Wright for the situation the Spurs are in right now? Because what could we have done, Joe? We could have traded those picks for a Lauri Markkanen, maybe, right? Danny Ainge is kind of a prick. We could have packaged those picks for a Trae Young. We could still package some of those picks for a De'Aaron Fox. But the thing about it is this, Joe. That's probably where he stumbles, right? He did the right moves, but then had faith in those moves when he could have just flipped them for a player to play now. Wemby's ahead of schedule. That's where I am with Brian Wright because I want to go down and say he's awful. I just think he's unlucky right now.
Yeah, his choices haven't really panned out for the team in the way that Spurs fans had envisioned, or probably the way he had envisioned himself. But I was going to show this stat here, and it's by Spurs Muse on Twitter, on the X, and he's saying Devon Vassell's 3-point shooting in the last 10 games, 3 for 9, 1 for 7, 1 for 6, 1 for 4, 0 for 6, 3 for 7, 2 for 5, 1 for 4, 1 for 5, and 0 for 4.
So 3-point shooting.
This is 3-point shooting, man, in the last 10 games.
Okay, so doing my math in my head, that's 5, 8, 10, 11, 12, right? That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 11. That's 13. And then that's 13, 25, 31, 35, 37, 44, 53. So 13 out of 53. That is Sohan-esque.
But he's the second best player on the team.
And that's a pretty big sample size, Joe.
That's 10 games, man.
What does that coincide with? You know what that coincides with, Joe? Him becoming a starter. That's worse than Sohan. It's 24%. Sohan's at 28 for the year.
Look, we got an incoming super chat, $4.99 from Midtown, Texas. Appreciate the support, you guys. You have all been wonderful.
All day.
And he puts, where does this Spurs front office rank? Where does the front office rank in Spurs history? Is it the worst ever? Question mark.
Um, it seems like the worst ever because this regime, it's still the same regime. R.C. Buford's still there. Pop is still there. I mean, I know Pop went down with the stroke, but decisions made over the last 30 years have involved Pop. Pop was a former GM. I'm not. It's funny whenever people get mad if you criticize Pop back when he was coaching. They'd be like, "Oh, well, he didn't draft those players. Like he had no say. Like the former GM of this team had no say in what they're doing. It's all a collective, Joe. It's all collective. I just think that they're all past their prime. And the more I think about Brian Wright, the more I realize he's probably doing a decent job, not a good job. It's just unlucky.
Look at Matt Lerma. He says at Roy. He says Pop was on record saying he's out of the draft process, and then look what
Sure.
Roy
Yeah.
says.
Okay.
And Matt, he goes,
yeah. and Roy coming out. And Matt, you believe what Pop is saying is the truth. Come on, Matt.
just like you believe Kawhi wanted to be in San Antonio, right? He went on record saying, "I want to be here. I don't want to go nowhere." And what happened? He's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone.
I can't believe Matt Lerma believes everything that the Spurs say to the media. You do realize it's public relations, right?
I want to be here. They don't.
Chris Leha coming out and saying with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Leha. Brian, wrong. Look at his track record. He's a trash GM. Well, I mean, he was part of the draft that got Luka Samanic, right? He wasn't the GM. He was the assistant GM at the time. Right?
Oh, man. Matt's going to stand on his hill alone.
Yeah. Why ask the question if you already believe something? Because that's their job.
Well, if you ask a question, people have a right to answer back. I get that. You know, everyone has their own opinion.
Do you know how you know that this is true, Joe? Local media had nothing on Josh Primo.
Yeah.
Who knew all about the Josh Primo stuff? National media.
Brian Wright knew. He knew. But
Yeah.
he took a gamble on the brother anyway, and he lost.
You know, okay, so like the Spurs, who are the recent draft picks, right? Castle. Castle is a good pick at number 4, right? We at least got a top 4 player, right? In
What are the other?
draft.
What are
It was
the
a
other
weak draft.
draft? What are
We
the
got
other draft picks?
we got a good player there. Who was the draft pick before that?
What did they
Yeah.
have? They had Primo before that. Then before that they had Luka Samanic, right? And look at Leha. Luka Samanic. People really tried defending that bum. The brother had no heart, man. His mind wasn't in it. Lonnie Walker. They had who else did they have?
We had Sohan, we had Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley.
Yeah.
I mean, Devon Vassell was a decent draft pick back in the day. Devon Vassell at 11 wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It's just maybe the Spurs just aren't good at developing talent anymore.
You know who could be the savior of this team right now? Nobody's really talking about it, kind of flying under the radar. A name that's was here with the Spurs and left, right? They traded him. I bet you anything if the Spurs had Jakob Portal playing center right now, or playing, a different position, coming in for Wemby or helping Wemby on that first unit, that could be a thing, man. Jakob Portal wasn't bad, and he's a better version of Zach Collins.
Oh, wait, we have a Cody sighting. Do you hear Cody?
Now that's what the Spurs need. They need somebody that can bark like that. They need a dog. They need a dog.
Dog. Oh, someone's ringing the doorbell, so that's the reason why.
They're going crazy. Maybe they're selling you Girl Scout cookies, Mike.
I hope it is the Girl Scouts. Let's see here.
I'll take 10 boxes.
Person detected at the door. Who is it?
Phantasma. It's a ghost, man. It probably is the rain, dude.
Dude, there's nobody at my door. This is creepy.
It's raining.
Cody, settle down. Midtown Texas saying, please let the dogs in. How long am I supposed to let them outside?
I don't know, 40 minutes, an hour. It's cold, bro.
I know it's cold, but shouldn't they be outside for a little bit?
Why?
It's gonna warm up Saturday and Sunday.
Why, Mike?
Because they're animals. Animals belong outside.
I love it every time you say that. No, they're fine. They're animals.
Dude, the doorbell rang and I'm looking at my cameras. Nobody there.
Dude, they want to come in, Mike. That's probably why they're barking, dude. They're
Did I
like,
get served
it's
legal
cold out
paperwork?
here.
No, dude. I'm
Oh,
nice and toasty in my hoodie, dude. This is good stuff.
Look
Hey,
at
you
Hannibal
mentioned
Jr.
Kawhi Leonard's name. Kawhi Leonard said that he wasn't going to play because his family got evacuated from Pacific Palisades in California, which is struggling with the brush fires over there. Dude, that guy just doesn't want to play anymore, man. Am I a dick for asking this question, Joe? Is your family healthy? Oh, they're good. They got out okay. Now go play ball. Am I a dick for saying what is he gonna do hanging out with his family at a nice hotel? Go play ball.
Look at this. Tony Ornalis, thanks for the $1.99 super chat. We appreciate you, man. He puts right, could have drafted Halliburton instead of Vassell.
Okay, let's play this game. Let's go through all the NBA drafts right now. Okay. So Basketball Reference has a really good pickup on all this, right? So let's go. Let's actually give Brian Wright a record here, right? What could he have done, right? So they picked Stephon Castle number 4 overall. Restart Shea, Sarr, and Shepard went 1, 2, and 3. I'm fine with them taking him because they probably got a top 4 pick, right?
Yeah.
So okay, 2023. The Spurs have the. Who the Spurs get in that draft? We got Wembanyama, obviously. So that's a good pick. You don't give flowers to Brian Wright for picking Wemby because of who else were you going to draft? Amen Thompson? Come on.
Yeah.
2022. Spurs have 3 first-round draft picks, and the one that's there is the Spurs took Jeremy Sohan over Jalen Williams, who balls out for OKC. The Spurs took Malachi Branham instead of Walker Kessler. The Spurs took Blake Wesley as opposed to, say, Andrew Nemhard or Nikola Jovic or Kennedy Chandler. I mean, there's some pretty decent names out there that they could have gotten. You go to 2021. Josh Primo, when they could have gotten Alperen Şengün. And that was one that I was on the radio talking about the entire time going, get Şengün. That guy's good. That Primo pick, dude. I have a hard time believing that they didn't have that in the back pocket. Like they didn't know that something was up. They got Devon Vassell at 11 when they could have gotten Tyrese Halliburton at 12.
And look at Sam Salinas. It says, you're missing the second pick, the wasted one where they traded Dillingham. Totally effing wasted.
Who else were you going to get? There was nobody there at 8. Like, I will say that one there, man. Okay, so Matt Lerman saying J-Dub is only as good as he is because he plays next to SGA. Okay, Matt, we want to play that game? Then Sohan is only a starter in the NBA because he plays next to Wemby.
Yeah, and he's playing on the San Antonio Spurs roster. If he was anywhere else, he'd coming off the bench. Yeah.
How many teams would have Jeremy Sohan as a starting power forward? 4, maybe?
Yeah.
5? And they're all bottom-dwelling teams. JHNSB saying J-Dub can knock down a consistent jumper.
Plays great defense. Now you sound just jealous and bitter.
I don't know, man. The Spurs machine of Chip Anglin and the development of players, Pop and the development of players is all sailed. Chip Anglin's not there. Greg Popovich is not there. And if he is there, even prior to the stroke, was just not himself anymore, dude. He's old.
You know what they need? The Spurs need? You know what everybody needs right now? They need to go ahead and get a girl that moves just much like the way Collins is looking at Keldon Johnson tear his warm-up shirt off his body before the Spurs played the Bucks. All this hype, and what did they do? Shit the bed.
Well, how about this? Who's the one amped up? It's Keldon, right? Who led the team in scoring yesterday?
It was Keldon.
It was Keldon.
but the rest of the team didn't show up, man. He's ready to play. So were the veterans. Everybody else, no show.
But Joe, the Spurs are still holding on to the number 10 spot.
And that's sad though, man.
Season
It's sad
ended right now. So 500 might get you there, Joe.
Maybe. Look at our good friend RJ Marquez, dude. I like RJ Marquez. He's one of my friends, man.
Yeah.
Good guy, man. Great guy. Him and his wife are great people, man. And look at that. Spurs flew into Los Angeles after their game against Milwaukee. The region has been devastated by wildfires in Southern California. No word yet if the NBA might postpone the Spurs' 2 upcoming games against the Lakers. The NHL postponed Wednesday's Kings game. So we'll go ahead and see what happens here. This could be something that actually can affect the Spurs schedule moving forward.
Yeah. Beyond that, I saw that there was an award show that was going to take place like in Hollywood. I don't know, the Screen Actors Guild or something like that. One of the big award shows. There's like 3 of them. There's like the Golden Globes. There's the Screen Actors Guild, and then there's the Oscars. It's being postponed by a couple of weeks also because it's taking place 5 miles away from where everything's going on. My cousins are out there fighting this fire. My cousin Andy is manned out there. He's been a firefighter for Los Angeles County for so long. He told me a story, though, that because of these fires, oftentimes what they have to do is they have to choke out other, they sometimes have to chop down trees to like not let them spread, right? And he was telling me that he had a superstar, I don't know if I say superstar, but a star actor that he went up to. And he says when he talks to celebrities out there in those hills, Pacific Palisades or Malibu or wherever it's at, right? He goes, sometimes you have a celebrity out there who's like a dick and some that are very, very, very nice. And that he told me the story last year that he came up to Jack Black, the comedian, the comedy actor. And he told Jack Black that they needed to chop down certain trees because they were endangering areas, and it would if there was a fire, it would spread and all that stuff. And he said he thought that Jack Black was going to get upset about that, and Jack Black was like, "I'll do whatever you tell me to do," and that was pretty cool. Yeah. I like to hear stories about celebrities who are nice people. And apparently, Jack Black was a winner when it came to it all. He said that he went up and introduced himself to everybody, and just said hi to everybody and thanked them for what they were doing. And basically said, whatever you need to do on my property, just do it.
Yeah, I mean, they're out there trying to save lives, man.
Yeah. But he said, my cousin says that there's other celebrities out there who are just straight up dicks and are like, you're not touching my property. You're not going to tell me what to do with my home or with stuff like that.
All right.
But that Jack Black was a real one.
Yeah, they don't want them to tell them to do with their homes, anything to do with the homes or touch the property. When it goes up like a matchstick, good luck.
Yeah. It's crazy. My daughter got a message from her cousin saying that they've evacuated to a hotel, but that they think that their house is going to be okay, but they evacuated to a hotel. I saw an article talking about how certain actors over there, James Woods has evacuated, saying that he doesn't know if his house is going to survive what's going on over there. There was another actor that I heard of. It was a movie star, Steve Guttenberg from Police Academy. I think he lost his house, man. I think his house is a goner.
Did they see that interview they had with him? They go, "What's your name?" "Oh, Steve Guttenberg." It's like, come on, man.
Mahoney. I'm Mahoney.
You never see Police Academy, man? Come on.
Joe, it's funny because you know how I tell you all the time that I didn't see a lot of movies growing up. For some reason, maybe it's because like my dad allowed me to have this because they're cochino movies, right?
Oh,
It was a Callahan and a very young Kim Cattrall and all that stuff. My dad watched Police Academy with me, and I watched 1 through all of them, even the one where they take on Miami. You know what I'm going to do today? I work from home, and I have like the white noise on in the background of TV shows and whatnot. I'm going to find a Police Academy movie. Hightower, Hooks, move it. Captain Harris, Commandant Lassard. How do I still know these names, Joe?
Timeless classic, man.
This is the Blue Oyster.
And looky, we got some information here coming through the wire here. It looks like the NBA is going to go ahead and put out, I guess, the second return of fan voting. It's going to be released later on today at 12 our time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go ahead and see where Wemby stacks up in the NBA All-Star voting. Man, hopefully he's still up there and can get voted in by the fan base.
Yeah, Wemby was number 5 among the Western Conference front court players last time. He was number 10 overall when it came to voting. By the way, we have a Duncan sighting. Sid Lord saying, if I get a bomber jacket, I look like the dude from Knight Rider. Which, by the way, that was one of the things we did last year. Was I watched Knight Rider for the first time ever, and I actually liked it.
I remember that you actually did a review on it. We need to get you back into doing that, dude.
Yeah, I know. There's so many movies that have popped up recently. Take a look at Duncan.
Oh man, he done.
He's like, and it's so funny. This morning it was 36 degrees. He wanted to go potty. Did he want to come back inside? No. You know why? He's an animal. He likes outside.
Oh God. You're gonna come. That was PETA knocking on your door earlier. They're like, get the dogs, man.
We heard what you said, Jimenez.
Man, look at Swiss. Doesn't miss, dude. Spurs fans. Oh shit, look at that.
It was such a brutal game yesterday. Like there was nothing to take away from it other than the fact that we have a no number 2.
No, man.
And we like the team we got.
And you know what's funny, man? You go and you see the disparity of what's happening with Spurs fans at this exact moment in time, and you look at the other end of the spectrum, and you have the Cavs that are, have the best overall record in the league, and they snapped the Thunder's 15-game winning streak. The Cavs are now 32-4 on the season. 32-4. Who would have thought about that, man?
And no one believes in them.
No. I don't believe
Everyone believes that the Boston Celtics are playing possum, going to get the 2 seed, going to play the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals, going to steal game 1 or game 2, and just finish it out at home. That's what everybody believes, right? Yeah. Unless or certain players from the Celtics get old. If Al Horford starts playing old, or Porzingis or Drew Holiday, if they start playing old, then maybe there's a chance. But it'd be nice to see Cleveland do something. And I tell you what, it'd be nice to see Cleveland do something without LeBron James. That would be the most prized possession that they would have of all their championships, of the championships they had won with LeBron, is having it that way.
Look at Redbird Junkie. He says Vassell could be the number 2 if he'd stop chunking up 3 balls and just get buckets outside the paint. No lie.
It's not good enough.
I mean, he needs to go ahead and shoot better. If he's going to garner that many touches, and he's taking touches away from Wemby, you got to produce. Right now, Vassell's not consistent. Brother can't even shoot at 3, man.
JHNSB just hurting my feelings right there. Read that one for me, please.
Remember when Spurs fans didn't want Darius Garland because we got Vassell?
Yeah, so Darius Garland on the season averaging 20.4 points per game on 49% shooting, also averaging 7 assists per game. That is quintessential Spurs fan behavior, and it's also not only the behavior of the Spurs, but also the front office is being enamored with what you've got because they wear silver and black.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just, like the Spurs have Wemby, who's a top 10 player in the NBA, and that's amazing. We have a washed up point guard in Chris Paul. He will give you. Remember back in the day, Wemby, Duncan wouldn't play back-to-backs, or Duncan would play back-to-backs, but he'd be really good one of the games, and on the second game of the back-to-back, he wasn't any good. It reminds me of when I used to say this about me going out drinking with my friends, especially when we'd go to Vegas. I would tell them, I'm like Duncan at the end of my career. Okay? I'm good for one night, but you got to rest me the next night. Okay? If we're going to go to Vegas for 4 nights, I'll get drunk nights 1 and 3, but not 2 and 4.
Oh, man.
When you're young, you can go all night, all day, every day, right? And that's the thing about, Chris Paul. And it's getting that way with Harrison Barnes. I like Harrison Barnes, but, it's just, his best days are behind him. He's still good. Best days are behind him. Who on the Spurs team right now has an extra leap ahead of them? Like, we know that Wemby does.
Yeah.
Maybe Sohan has one, but I don't think he has two. Vassell is capped. We know who Devon Vassell is. We know who Keldon Johnson is. We know who Trey Jones is. Does Champagne have an extra step forward? Because if not, we're just going to be sitting in purgatory saying, I'm fine.
You know what? You're going to be spinning your wheels like a car trying to burn out.
Yeah.
You're going nowhere, man. Just making a lot of smoke, doing nothing, going nowhere. But look at this, man. We have to talk about this a little bit too. Texas Longhorns have a big game coming up tomorrow against the Ohio Buckeyes, man. And I'm going to go ahead and show this. I'm showing the wrong picture here, by the way. Let me go ahead and get the right graphic on the screen. I'll go get that up right now. So the Longhorns have a big game against the Ohio Buckeyes tomorrow. Longhorns 13-2, Buckeyes 12-2. Longhorns ranked number 3, Buckeyes ranked number 6. Game tips off at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, so the big question that fans have, I'm sorry, I got to get my phone for my notes. So the big question that fans have is UT for real? Our good friend Mike Taylor from the Mike Taylor Show, he's also in the building with Rudy J, asked the question on social media this morning, should UT play Arch Manning a handful of plays, a couple of series, just to change things up a little bit? Or should they just ride or die with Quinn Ewers?
I think they need to play Arch Manning. If you're going to want to go ahead and contend for the national championship, right, you're going to have to go ahead and change things up, man. I think the Buckeyes are too good for the Longhorns just to roll out there with Ewers. I don't think Ewers is going to get it done, man.
Is it possible that Texas just really is just
No.
Because Ohio State has a pedigree of winning championships or at least getting close to one, right? Texas is on the come up. I know, it's one of those things where Texas first year in the SEC. Normally at this point, we see Georgia, we see Bama. Back in the day, we'd see Clemson. Those are there. But the teams that always seem to always be there is Ohio State. And Ohio State, lost 2 games this year to really good teams. Lost them in the last minute. Close games. I'm afraid of Texas going out there and getting their ass handed to them.
I am too, man.
I think the only thing that Texas has going in their favor right now is the fact that it's being played in the state of Texas at Jerry World.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's basically not played in. It's played in a neutral ground, right? It's not played to give one team the advantage over the other in a sense, but still in the state of Texas at Jerry World, still here. You would think that things would be in favor of the Longhorns, but right now I think the Longhorns are at a disadvantage because the Ohio State Buckeyes, man, they ain't no joke, dude. That defense is stellar. I think they're going to give the Longhorns all sorts of fits, and if the Longhorns can't get their running game going, if the Ohio State Buckeyes go ahead and stop that run and force the Longhorns to go ahead and pass, and they just keep on putting pressure on Ewers the whole night, that might be all she wrote.
The Longhorns really need to establish a running game.
They do.
I think part of this game is going to be controlling the clock. It's going to be limit the possessions. I don't want to see a shootout there against Ohio State because I think if there's a shootout, we're going to lose. I want to see sustained 10 to 14 play drives, control the clock, control the tempo and pace of the game. That is what I want to see out of the Longhorns.
I got a question, man. Should we have Johnny Walker on the show tomorrow?
That's a good point. Let's make it happen.
Right? This is a big game. I mean, Johnny Walker, he knows Texas Longhorn football, man. We got to get him back on.
He does. And, I look at this team and I don't know what to make out of it, man. Because if you want to say that they're a top 4 team in the country, like legitimately, I believe you. But if you want to tell me that they were smoke and mirrors the entire time, I can kind of buy that too. Losing twice to Georgia, almost beat them one of those times. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to not see Bama out there. It's kind of weird not to see Georgia. It's kind of weird to see all of that happen. Meantime, on the other side, Is Penn State for real or not? Penn State. Who did Penn State beat in the playoffs to get to the semis? They beat Boise State and they beat SMU. Congratulations. I mean, they didn't even beat a big school to get there. They beat an SMU team, which I like the fact that SMU made the playoffs. They beat an Boise State team with Ashton Genty. But come on, man. They didn't play any powerhouse name, any blue blood football team at all. Yeah. Notre Dame and Penn State have like an even matchup. I think they're like 9-9 against each other, all time. I hate Notre Dame with a passion, Joe. My number one hatred in sports is the Dallas Cowboys. My number two is anything Notre Dame. But Notre Dame is going to beat the living snot out of Penn State.
They should.
And it's going to be a big – dude, think about the ratings you're going to have. How big of a college football championship this will be. If it is Notre Dame versus Texas, Notre Dame versus Ohio State, I don't think the NCAA gives two craps about who wins the Texas-Ohio State game. They just want Notre Dame there.
Yeah. Or you know what, Mike? We got to give some love to one of our sponsors, man. So who do you want to go with first? MCS?
MCS.
All right. MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business, honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
That Diamond Hard Concrete, not only do they do that Diamond Hard Concrete, but they also have Yetis that are up for grabs. So reach out to me and Joe if you want to get a Yeti. I believe they're going for about 40, 45 bones or so. And we'd be more than happy to place an order for you through Chris Lehan, fellas. Their number is 210-774-9155. 210-774-9155. Like I've said it all along, I've been a customer of theirs. They've done a fantastic job working with my house. I'm looking at it right now. They did the sidewalk all along right here. They did the steps and the extension to my patio. They did a very, very, very good job. And I highly recommend MCS General Contracting, 210-774-9155. Joe, I got to show you something real fast.
Yeah.
My cousin just sent me this.
40, 50 mile per hour winds.
Damn.
That is him fighting the fires in California.
You got fire to the left, to the right.
Can you hear him?
Yeah.
These poor people.
That whole place is on fire, man.
This dude on the other side.
He's like, we got to get out of here.
Man. Scary stuff, man.
Then he also sent me this one also. The devastation.
Oof. Yeah, the Palisades, man. Everything's just burned up over there, man. They're going to have to rebuild the whole place.
That's crazy. Mario Cavazos reaches out to us and says, I became a Notre Dame fan watching them on Channel 4 every Sunday and watching Jerome the Bus Bettis.
Oh, man, look at this. Pop culture news. Jessica Alba is back on the market.
Really? She broke up with Cash Warren?
Think so. Look, we got an incoming $1.99 super chat from Tony Ornelas. He says, I think it's time to test out Riley Minix in SA.
Oh, my God. That's how you know we've hit the skids, man, when we're looking at Riley Minix, who, by the way, is doing a fantastic job over in Austin right now. So TMZ is reporting that Jessica Alba and Cash Warren are separated, heading for divorce. She's a billionaire, dude. Look at that. Latina self-made billionaire because of all her cosmetic products and fragrances and things like that. I'm very, very proud. I saw this stat, Joe. The divorce was finalized between J-Lo and Ben Affleck.
How much did it cost him?
Well, it's houses and a wedding ring, right? She's been divorced now 6 times, right? She's looking for love. I ain't gonna be mad at it, right? But the stat that I saw today was she held on to all 6 of those wedding rings. The value of them collectively $17 million.
Damn, it's a good chunk of change.
She has $17 million in wedding rings from divorces. That's amazing.
Jeez. You know what I was going to show you, Mike? This is funny to me, man. I saw this just scouring the X right now. And you know how you're always saying Mike is sneaky athletic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if you could do this, man.
Oh, hell no.
Look at this, dude. You sneaky athletic, Mike. I think you could keep up for a little bit.
No, I would go 3 and out.
He did pretty good, man. This should be a thing, dude. This is fun.
Jesse A comes out and says, I'm going to take my chance with J-Lo. I could change her.
Oh. He's going to be number 7.
Hey, man. Still hot. Leia, who the hell does J-Lo think she is? Thanos?
She's got the Infinity Gauntlet all by herself. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I did that when I got up this morning, trying to do that obstacle course right there.
Hey, tomorrow the Houston Rodeo is going to announce their lineups for the rodeo, which takes place during spring break weeks there in Houston. So San Antonio does it the early part of February, and like the 9th to the 23rd. That's when they do it in Houston around the same time, but in March. I'm interested in seeing who they have out there. They're probably going to have like a big band, like the Foo Fighters or something weird. Well, we got who? Who do we got? We got Leanne Rimes. Come on, man. We got Nelly.
Nelly's not really a headliner anymore, man. He's like an opening act, you know?
Dude, I saw Nelly perform earlier this year at the Usher concert. He was a surprise guest.
Yeah.
I lost my mind, dude. I got excited, man. He sang 3 of his hits and bounced.
Like you said, it's getting hot in here.
Getting hot in here. I am getting so hot. I want to take my clothes off.
Oh, God, dude. Oh, look at this. Swiss came in hot again, dude. I showed the meme that he made, right? And look at, he's quick with it, dude. He already got your face on it.
Oh, who is that Jason Whitlock? Who is that?
It is, dude. It's Jason Whitlock. Look, that's funny, dude. They're quick with this stuff, dude. Not even like 11 minutes ago. Boom. You know Jeff's going to love this.
Yeah. What is this? Samson is saying Mike will be conveniently in Conroe for the Houston Rodeo. All I got to say is, damn straight I will be. Damn straight I will be. It's also my birthday week, by the way. That's my girl.
Oh, look at this. JHNSB. Mike licked the cherry.
Okay, dude. I think I might have mentioned that during the show after the concert. That was the most cochino thing I'd ever seen. I felt so disappointed in Usher. My girlfriend was not happy. No, it's one thing if he does that with like one girl, right? For those of you who don't know, Usher, who has like 20 hits, right, since the late 90s, has this tour going on that's very similar to Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. The Eras Tour talks about all her albums and plays like 3 songs from every album, right? Or 5 songs from every album. Usher's doing the exact same thing. He's not calling it Eras, but he's calling it like the Generation or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's going back in time to all his hits. And it's doing them by year. Well, somewhere in the middle of all that, he got cochino and started like hounding this one girl in the audience that had a big rack, like an enormous rack. And I was like, okay, he singled her out, whatever. But then he goes over to talk to her. And then he brings out bowls of cherries. And not the little cherries, not the little maraschino cherries. These things look massive, right? And they're to give the impression of something else. And he's going around from girl to girl to girl to girl to girl to girl, like 50 women in the audience, asking them to lick the cherries and then swallow them.
Oh, look at
And
that.
then one time he went up to a girl who he saw was with a dude, and he goes, "Do you mind? Is it okay for your girl?" And the guy was like, "I guess." And then he dangles them, right? So no, I did not lick the cherry, the Usher cherries. That was gross and cochino. And it went too far, man. He had a twerking contest. He had strippers on stage. Dude, we're gonna find out that Usher was part of the whole Diddy experience.
Look at Jesse A. Usher learned from Diddy.
Yeah, where he learned from Diddy. It's cochino, man.
Yeah.
He's playing, OMG and all this loving this club and and all that stuff. And we think that he's just like this nice, uplifting music guy. It's cochino all the way. Pits it all, Sam Salinas says. That's funny.
God, man. Look at this, dude. We got this breaking as well. So the NBA standings, they update, right, as of yesterday. Then look at where the Spurs are at still. We went ahead and talked about it a little bit. They're standing at 18 and 19, at 10 and West right now. They're just they're tied right now. They're with the 10 and 11. Sacramento Kings also have same as San Antonio Spurs. There we go. We lost you for a sec. We got you back.
Okay, yeah, Spurs sitting there at 10, holding on that spot. More and more as the season's going on, Joe, we're seeing that the magic number there, it's kind of like the projected cut in golf, right? You got to get to here if you want to last the weekend. It looks like the projected cut is 41 and 41. We thought it was going to be 46 and 36, but it's 41 and 41 appears to be the projected cut. Who says go Rockets? Benji, get out of here. Get out of here. We don't accept Rockets fans here.
Space
Dude.
City Mike, Space City Jimenez.
Again, I don't go to Houston. I don't set foot in Houston. I go to Conroe. Conroe for my girl.
Look at JHNSB. He says Kings and Suns are better than us. They should finish 13th. At the end of the day, man, I think it's going to, when the dust settles, Spurs are going to be at least 13 or 12 on the outside looking in, man.
You know what? And when it comes to the draft, you know what I say? Good.
The Spurs, they finished the season and, they have a bad record. They've only won 35, 36 games. Good. That's what we said they were.
Vegas knew all along.
Yeah. Hey, they're really not off, man. The Vegas odd makers are really not off. And me and Mike have went on record numerous times, even on Locked On Spurs and our show as well, and saying they're going to win anywhere from about 35, 38 wins. They're a 35 to 38 win team. That's how many games they're going to win on the season.
Tony O'Neill is coming out saying that we should never say we when we talk about the Spurs. No, we are a collective. The Spurs are nobody without the fans, okay? The Spurs are basically playing rec league basketball if it wasn't for the fans. And that goes for any city out there, any team out there. It can be the UT Longhorns. If you're cheering for UT, that is we. They're going to, Ohio State's playing against us, not against the UT football players.
Yeah.
Because if it was just we, if it was just them, then why would we care? Right? We are all family when it comes to it all.
Look at Leha. Christopher Leha's in the chat too, and he put, "Can't wait to see the standings after the rodeo road trip."
And then it's gonna, you're gonna hear that rumbling down the hall. It's gonna be down the street. It's gonna be Team Tank coming in going, well, the Spurs are 10 games under 500. We should just lose the rest.
Yeah, and look at Sam Salinas. He says Leha's right. Rodeo road trip is going to be what makes or breaks the season. And I'm telling you guys, based on what we've seen out of the Spurs thus far, when they go on the road, it's not going to be a good showing, man. I expect the rodeo road trip is going to be what breaks the season. I predict the Spurs will probably win maybe at least 2 games, 3 games at the most. I don't really see this team faring well far from the Frost Center, man.
Tony is coming out here on our YouTube stream, on our chat line, saying, we shouldn't say that we're a part of the Spurs. I disagree, right? But it reminds me of what my girlfriend was telling me the other day. I was talking to her about sports, and now my girlfriend played college softball, right? So she's an athlete. But I was talking to her about when the Spurs won the title in '99, and I was telling her that I remember all the people crying at the Alamo Dome. I know the Spurs won the 99 title at Madison Square Garden, but the last game that they played here at the Alamo Dome, we all knew that the Spurs were better than the Knicks. We all knew that it was a foregone conclusion that the Spurs were going to win the NBA championship. It was the first time ever, right? I remember being in the stands and people sobbing, and we're all tearing up and we're all hugging, strangers hugging each other, right? And I'm telling her other instances where I've been emotional watching a game. When the Oilers blew that big lead to the Bills back in the mid-90s. When the Spurs won in 2014 to avenge the 2013 loss to the Heat. There have been moments in sports history that have made me tear up. Vince Young against USC going for the right pylon. I just remember tearing up. It was so beautiful. And she looks at me and says, that is just stupid. You weren't on the team. You didn't have any family members on the team. That is just stupid. So there you go.
You know what we also need to do? We need to go ahead and give some love to Jeff Garcia, man, of the Locked On Spurs podcast.
Yeah.
Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@Locked On Spurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, Jeff Garcia has Dominguez Cinco on, Raul Dominguez. You know him on Twitter, Spurs Twitter, on Locked On Spurs today as they look deeper into the Spurs loss against the Bucks. He has interviews with Victor Wembanyama after the Spurs lost to the Bucks 121-105 on ESPN last night. And you just follow Jeff Garcia at Jeff G Spurs Zone on Twitter or Threads. And then also you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Spurs. I'm oftentimes on it. I was supposed to be on it next week, but I big timed him. It's just what it is, man. I got to big time the guy every once in a while. Keep him in check.
He always makes fun of you for that. He goes,
Just
Mike,
playing. I had to work.
Oh, we got to give some love to you too, Mike.
Yeah, 210-508-0369. I'm a financial guy. I have 19 years experience as a financial advisor working with investments and retirement accounts and things like that, life insurance, disability, long-term care. If you know anybody who's retiring, anybody who is changing jobs, has to do a rollover of a 401k, an IRA, a pension, or maybe even has existing investments and wants someone to look at them, give me a call, 210-508-0369. Joe, we're going to have to call it an early show today. I got to get to the office and got lots to do today. But, J-Lo's on the market. Jessica Alba's on the market.
Yeah.
It's a good day for single men in California, I guess.
Yeah. You want to go and marry a billionaire, go and look up Jessica Alba. See if you got a chance.
Everyone have a fantastic day. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be doing this remotely from more than likely Conroe tomorrow, but I'll be doing the show with Joe.
Yeah. Safe travels, man. Be careful on the road, Mike.
All right. Tomorrow's game day for the Longhorns. So let's make it happen. Be back tomorrow.